Dr. Emily Bennett's coffee had gone cold for the third time that night. The Quantum Propulsion Laboratory's fluorescent lights hummed overhead as she stared at the anomalous readings on her holographic display. Her team had gone home hours ago, leaving her alone with the quantum field generator and her increasingly desperate thoughts. "Something's wrong with these numbers," she muttered, running her fingers through her disheveled blonde hair. The generator was producing quantum entanglement patterns that defied every established theory. More frustrating still, the patterns only appeared when she worked late into the night. During regular hours, everything functioned exactly as expected. The neural monitoring equipment in the corner caught her eye. It was supposed to be used next week for a different project, studying the effects of quantum fields on human consciousness. Emily glanced at her watch. 3:47 a.m. The kind of hour when career-ending mistakes or breakthrough discoveries were made. "What the hell?" she said, attaching the neural sensors to her temples. "Nobody's here to stop me anyway." The quantum field generator hummed to life as she initialized the sequence she'd run 100 times before. This time, however, her own brainwave patterns appeared alongside the quantum data. For several minutes, nothing unusual happened. Then her eyelids grew heavy. The moment she started to drift between wakefulness and sleep, every sensor in the lab went crazy. The quantum field wasn't just producing entanglement patterns, it was warping space itself, creating a microscopic but stable wormhole right there in the laboratory. More incredibly, the wormhole's geometry perfectly matched her brainwave patterns. Emily jolted awake, her heart pounding. The wormhole collapsed instantly, but the data remained. She spent the next 2 hours running diagnostics, checking and rechecking her findings. There was no mistake. Human consciousness, specifically the unique patterns that occurred during the transition to sleep, could influence quantum fields in ways that defied physics as we knew it. When her team arrived at 9 a.m., they found her surrounded by empty coffee cups and neural mapping projections. Dr. Marcus Chen, her second in command, took one look at her face and knew something big had happened. "Either you've lost your mind," he said, "or you found something incredible." "What if it's both?" Emily replied, bringing up the night's data. "Look at this. Human brainwaves during the hypnagogic state. That moment between wakefulness and sleep. They create quantum resonance patterns that can fold space-time." The lab erupted into activity as her team processed the implications. Within days, they'd replicated the results with other test subjects. Within weeks, they'd scaled up the equipment, creating larger and more stable wormholes. The key was always the same. Human consciousness, hovering on the edge of sleep, could somehow reach out and grasp the fabric of space-time itself. The military arrived shortly after their first successful large-scale test. General Sarah Harrison strode into the lab with a team of officials, her expression a mixture of concern and barely contained excitement. "Dr. Bennett," she said, "we need to talk about Project Morpheus." Emily had expected this, but not so soon. "We're still in early testing phases, General. We don't fully understand the mechanism." "We don't have time for full understanding," Harrison interrupted, spreading out classified photos on the lab table. They showed Chinese and Russian quantum research facilities. "Our intelligence suggests we're not the only ones close to this discovery. But you're the first to succeed." The next 6 months were a blur of accelerated testing, prototype development, and countless nights spent fine-tuning what they now called the Morpheus drive. They discovered that not everyone could operate it. You needed a specific type of brainwave pattern, the ability to maintain that delicate state between sleeping and waking. The first test flight was scheduled for December 15th. Emily stood in the control room, watching as the experimental ship Dreamweaver prepared for launch. Captain Michael Torres, one of the few pilots whose brain patterns matched the requirements, sat in the cockpit, connected to the scaled-up version of her original device. "Remember," Emily's voice crackled over the radio, "don't fight the sleep state. Let your mind drift naturally, just like in the simulations." As the countdown reached 0, She watched the impossible happen. The ship didn't just disappear. It tore a hole in reality itself, leaving behind a rippling quantum wake that made everyone in the control room feel like they'd just woken up from a strange dream. Humanity's first step into true faster-than-light travel wasn't a triumph of traditional engineering. It was a breakthrough born in the space between sleeping and waking, in the quantum darkness where dreams and reality intertwined, and it would change everything. The Galactic Council's central chamber had never been so silent. 800 representatives from across known space watched in horrified fascination as the human vessel materialized. Unlike normal ship arrivals through the designated beacon gates, this entrance tore a writhing hole in space-time itself, its edges rippling with what looked like dark lightning and fragments of dreams. High Speaker Velen's secondary heart nearly stopped as the nightmare-inducing portal collapsed behind the sleek human ship. The vessel, designated Dreamweaver, hung in space like a predator among prey, its quantum wake sending shivers through the psychic barriers of every sensitive species in attendance. By the ancient protocols, Velen's translator rendered their words into human English. "What have you done to space itself?" Captain Michael Torres stood proudly on the transmission platform, his neural interface still humming from the jump. "Representatives of the Galactic Council, on behalf of humanity, we come in peace. What you've witnessed is our Morpheus drive technology, enabling faster-than-light travel through consciousness-guided quantum tunneling." The chamber erupted into chaos. The crystalline mind forms of the Zix collective were vibrating in distress, their usually harmonious thoughts fractured by the lingering psychic echoes. The empathic Newlands were weeping, overwhelmed by the collective terror of the assembly. Even the typically stoic vanguard observers were showing signs of agitation. "Your method of travel," the Myraxian science director interrupted, their tentacles coiling in agitation. "It broadcasts dreams, nightmares. Every species here felt your arrival like a psychic wound." Torres exchanged glances with Dr. Emily Bennett, who had insisted on joining this historic meeting. They had detected no signs of intelligent life during their test flights. Now they faced hundreds of species, all apparently traumatized by their method of travel. "We had no idea." Emily stepped forward. "Our technology interfaces with human consciousness during the hypnagogic state to create stable wormholes. We never detected any psychic broadcast." "Because humans are psychically deaf," the Newland representative sobbed, still shaking. "You tear through the consciousness layer of space-time without hearing the screams. Our fastest ships take months to cross the distances you just traversed, specifically to avoid disturbing the cosmic consciousness." The strategic implications hit the human delegation like a physical blow. In less than a year, humanity had accidentally discovered and implemented faster-than-light travel in a way that bypassed all existing defense systems and caused psychological warfare as a side effect. "This cannot be allowed to continue," High Speaker Velen declared. "The beacon network has maintained peace for millennia. Your Morpheus drive threatens the mental well-being of all spacefaring species." Emily's scientific mind was already racing with possibilities. "Perhaps we can modify the technology, find a way to dampen its psychic impact." "You don't understand." The Myraxian cut in. "Every time your ships jump, they create ripples in the universal consciousness, small tears that don't heal properly. If enough human ships travel this way, they left the implications hanging." Captain Torres felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity had just achieved the stars and already faced a choice between isolation and causing widespread suffering. But something about the Council's fear seemed excessive, almost primal. "With all due respect," he said, choosing his words carefully, "our limited experience suggests these tears do heal. And some of our researchers theorize that consciousness itself is far more resilient than we imagine." The Zix collective chimed in, their crystalline forms pulsing with alarming patterns. "Human vessels have been detected making multiple jumps before this meeting. Each one left psychic scars. Already, Reports come of changed behavior among young members of various species, growing fascination with dreams, dangerous ideas about reality's nature. Emily caught Torres' eye, her expression warning him to stay quiet about the full extent of their testing. If single jumps caused this much panic, the Council couldn't know about their planned network of regular routes. The Council will deliberate, High Speaker Velon announced. Until then, all human vessels are restricted to sublight travel within their home system. As the chamber emptied, Emily noticed something curious. While the elder representatives fled in fear, some younger aliens lingered, watching the Dreamweaver with unmistakable fascination. Perhaps humanity's nightmare drive was causing ripples in more ways than one. The question now was whether those ripples would lead to destruction or transformation, and whether humanity would have any choice in the matter. Ambassador James Walker had never seen the Council archives this empty. Most species avoided the place now, claiming they could feel psychic echoes from a handful of human ships in orbit. He sat alone among towering data crystals, searching for any historical precedent that might help humanity's case. Still hunting for loopholes. The voice belonged to Naira, a young Newland diplomat who, unlike her elders, seemed fascinated rather than terrified by humans. Her silver skin shimmed under the archive's soft light. 3 million years of galactic history. James gestured at the surrounding archives. There has to be something we can use. A priority alert flashed across his neural display. The Orion Arm colonies were facing imminent destruction. A quantum storm, far larger than any on record, was tearing through the region. The Council's evacuation ships would take weeks to reach the endangered systems. How many lives? Naira asked, her empathic abilities picking up his distress. 8 million colonists. James pulled up the data. Spread across 3 systems. Standard evacuation would take 26 days. And with human ships, 36 hours. The Council chamber was packed when James made his proposal. High Speaker Velon presided over the emergency session, their multiple eyes reflecting the holographic displays of the approaching quantum storm. You ask us to approve nightmare ships. The Myraxian science director's tentacles writhed in agitation. To save some while traumatizing billions. Dr. Emily Bennett, called in as technical advisor, stepped forward. We've modified our drive signatures. The psychic impact will be reduced by 60%. And we found certain individuals among your own species who show resistance to the effect. That's not enough. Azek's elder chimed, their crystalline form vibrating with anxiety. The damage to the cosmic consciousness will be far less than 8 million deaths, James interrupted. He projected images of the colony's children, families, and communities. Are your comfortable dreams worth more than their lives? The chamber erupted into argument. The progressive faction, led by younger representatives, supported the human intervention. The traditionalists warned of cosmic consequences, of tears in reality that might never heal. Captain Jessica Martinez's voice cut through the chaos. She had been chosen to lead the potential rescue fleet. While we debate, people die. My crews are ready. We need only your permission. Or what? The Myraxian challenged. You'll go anyway. Prove we're right to fear you. James watched the younger council members closely. Many had been experiencing strange dreams since human ships arrived, dreams that showed them new ways of seeing reality. Some had even secretly requested passage on human vessels, drawn to the transformation they sensed waiting in the dreamwake of the Morpheus drive. We stand at a crossroads, he addressed the council. We can cling to our fears, or we can trust that the universe is more resilient than we imagine. That consciousness, like life itself, grows stronger when challenged. High Speaker Velon raised all 4 hands for silence. The Council will vote. The lives of 8 million against the mental well-being of trillions. The vote was close, terrifyingly close, but permission was granted with conditions. Only modified ships, only volunteer crews, only this one mission. As the rescue fleet prepared for launch, James noticed something extraordinary. Dozens of young aliens from various species approached Captain Martinez, volunteering to join the human crews. They had been touched by the dream wake before and survived. Some had been changed by it. All wanted to help. Perhaps this is more than a crisis, Naira observed, watching the mixed crews board their ships. Perhaps it's evolution knocking at our door. The first ship jumped, its modified drive tearing a smaller, more controlled hole in reality. The psychic shock was still there, but different now. Less like a nightmare, more like an awakening. As the rescue fleet disappeared into their dream portals, James couldn't help but smile. Humanity had come to the stars expecting to find teachers. Instead, they had become them, showing the galaxy how to face its fears and embrace transformation. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for the lesson. Captain Jessica Martinez watched the crystal spires of New Damascus through her ship's viewport. The Star Chaser looked like any other merchant vessel on the outside. Inside, however, the cargo holds had been converted into dream flight chambers, each designed to safely house different species during consciousness-powered jumps. "Security scan incoming," her first officer, Rachel Chen, reported. "Running Ghost Protocol." The ship's quantum signature shifted, masking the specialized equipment that would give away their true purpose. Ever since the successful Orion Arm rescue, the Council had tried to restrict human FTL travel even more severely. They hadn't counted on a growing number of aliens who now sought it out. "Welcome to New Damascus," the Port Authority's voice crackled. "Maintain standard orbit until cleared." Jessica smiled at the code phrase. This particular port officer was one of their allies in the Dreamline network. Within an hour, their newest batch of passengers would arrive, each drawn to the transformative power of dreamflight. The first passenger was a young Myraxian scholar, their tentacles quivering with excitement rather than the usual fear. "I've been having the dreams," they confided, "ever since the rescue fleet passed near our world. I see connections I never noticed before." Next came a Zix crystal singer, their facets deliberately misaligned in rebellion against their species' rigid harmony. "Our songs need new notes," they chimed. "The old harmonies feel empty now." The last was a Newland youth leader, already showing signs of the change. Their silver skin had developed subtle patterns that shifted with their thoughts, a trait never before seen in their species. "They say we're being corrupted," she said. "I say we're finally waking up." Jessica led them through pre-flight meditation, a technique developed to ease the transition into dream space. "The first jump is the hardest," she explained. "Your minds will fight it. Let them. The fear is part of the transformation." As the Star Chaser prepared for jump, Jessica felt the familiar pull of the Morpheus drive engaging. The ship's neural network linked their consciousnesses, human and alien minds merging in the space between sleeping and waking. The jump itself was different every time. Today, they flew through a corridor of crystalline thoughts, each passenger's mind contributing to the shared dreamscape. The Myraxians' scientific curiosity created patterns of mathematical beauty. The Zix's rebellious songs became visible as streams of color. The Newlands' transforming consciousness left trails of shifting silver. They emerged near the Perseus Arm, far from approved travel routes. Here, in the spaces between settled systems, the Dreamline had established secret waypoints, places where transformed individuals could meet, share experiences, and explore their evolving abilities. "Welcome to Sanctuary," Jessica announced as they docked with a hidden station. The structure was a marvel of human and alien engineering, designed to dampen its quantum signature from long-range scans. Inside the station, dozens of species mingled freely. Some showed physical changes like the Newland youth. Others demonstrated new abilities. Myraxians communicating without words, Zix forming impossible harmonies, even members of traditionally non-psychic species showing signs of awakening sensitivity. "They're calling us Dream Riders now," Rachel reported, reviewing the latest underground communications. The council's getting nervous. More young ones are seeking us out. Some are even showing signs of natural dreamflight ability. Jessica watched a group of recent passengers practicing consciousness control. Each jump seemed to unlock something new in both humans and aliens. The fear response was diminishing across generations. Instead of nightmares, the dreamwake now carried visions of possibility. "Did you see the latest reports?" a modified human navigator asked, his neural implants glowing softly. "Some of the elder races are starting to change too. It's like we've triggered some kind of species-wide evolution." Before Jessica could respond, the station's sensors picked up multiple incoming ships. Council enforcers, by their energy signatures, someone had found them. "Time to show them what Dream Riders can really do," Jessica grinned, rushing back to her ship. The Star Chaser's crew and passengers followed, not running from fear, but moving with purposeful excitement. The hunt was on, but the hunters didn't understand. You can't catch a dream. And that's what they had all become. Living dreams, teaching the galaxy how to wake up from its long, static slumber. Dr. Marcus Reynolds stared at the brain scans with growing excitement. The enhanced imaging chamber on Sanctuary Station had revealed something extraordinary in the neural patterns of regular dreamflight participants. "This changes everything," he muttered, as his research partner, a transformed Miraxian named Vex, analyzed the data through their newly developed psychic sense. The Council was right about the damage. Vex's tentacles waved in complex patterns, but wrong about its nature. These aren't tears in spacetime. They're growth patterns. The laboratory door slid open as Captain Jessica Martinez arrived with her latest group of passengers. 3 months had passed since their narrow escape from Council enforcers, and the underground network had only grown stronger. "Please tell me you have good news," Jessica said. "The Council's getting more aggressive. We lost 2 safe houses last week." Marcus projected the neural mapping data. Intricate patterns of light filled the room, showing the brain structure of various species before and after repeated dreamflight exposure. "It's not just random change," he explained. "Every species shows the same pattern of neural evolution. The human Morpheus drive isn't damaging consciousness. It's awakening dormant neural pathways. Pathways that exist in all spacefaring races." Vex interfaced with the display, adding their species' ancient medical records. "Our legends speak of a time when all beings could walk through dreams. We thought they were just stories." The station's alert system suddenly blared. A Council science vessel had dropped out of beacon space nearby, but instead of attack ships, they were broadcasting a request for peaceful contact. "That's the progressive faction's flag," Jessica noted. "They must have seen our research data." The Council ship's commander was a young Zix named Harmony Breaker, their crystal form displaying previously impossible color patterns. "We've been running our own studies," they chimed. "The changes in our youth, they're not random either." Marcus shared their latest discovery, brain scans showing how dreamflight activated ancient neural structures, like turning on long-dormant machinery. Every species has these pathways. They've just been sleeping for millions of years. The fear response, Harmony Breaker resonated thoughtfully. "It's not fear of damage, it's fear of awakening. Our species remember this power deep in our genetic memory. We sealed it away for a reason." The laboratory's holographic display filled with data from both teams. The pattern was undeniable. Human consciousness hadn't invented a new way to travel, it had rediscovered an ancient one. The Morpheus drive was just a technological crutch, helping minds remember what they had always been capable of. "That's why the young ones adapt so quickly," Vex realized. "Their minds haven't been taught to fear it yet. They're remembering rather than learning." Jessica watched as a group of children, human, Miraxian, Zix, and Newlan, played in the station's recreation area. Their minds touched casually, sharing dreams and thoughts without any technology to help them. "Look at their neural patterns," Marcus pointed to new scans. They're developing natural dream flight abilities. The technology was never the real change. It was just the key to unlocking our shared heritage. The news spread through the underground network like wildfire. The progressive faction of the council could no longer ignore the evidence. This wasn't about human technology anymore. It was about the awakening of abilities that all species once possessed. "We need to go public," Harmony Breaker declared. "The council must understand that fighting this is like fighting evolution itself." Marcus prepared the research for broadcast, while Jessica organized a fleet of dream riders to spread the word. The fear of nightmare ships was about to be replaced by something far more powerful, the memory of what all species once were and could be again. "The real question," Vex mused, watching the children play, "is what happened to make our ancestors lock these abilities away? And what will happen now that we're remembering them?" As if in answer, the space around Sanctuary Station rippled with new energy. The children had done something without meaning to, something that made every sensitive being within light years stop and listen. They had started to dream together, and the universe had started to dream back. Dr. Rachel Anderson's boots left prints in dust undisturbed for millions of years. The derelict station hung in deep space, its ancient hull covered in crystalline patterns that seemed to shift when no one was looking directly at them. "The architecture is unlike anything in council records," her research partner, Dr. James Chen, said through the comlink. These beings called themselves the Dreamborn. Their discovery had shaken the scientific community. While the council argued about dream flight and neural evolution, this massive structure had been found floating in a region of space where no ships ever ventured. Its very presence seemed to repel normal scanning methods. The station only became visible after the children's shared dream. Rachel noted, remembering the massive psychic event that had rippled through space 3 weeks ago. "It's like it was waiting to be found." The central chamber was enormous, its walls covered in living crystal that responded to their presence. As Rachel approached, images began to form, not holograms, but something projected directly into the observers' minds. Recording this, James said unnecessarily. They both knew regular sensors wouldn't capture what they were about to witness. Only the neural recorders in their suits could document the psychic impressions. The story unfolded in their minds. The Dreamborn had been the first species to fully master consciousness-driven space travel. They hadn't needed ships or technology. Their minds alone could pierce the veil between points in space. They were like gods, Rachel whispered, watching as the crystal memories showed vast civilizations spanning galaxies, unified by the power of shared dreams. But then the images turned dark. The Dreamborn had reached too far, touched something vast and ancient that slumbered in the spaces between stars. Their greatest achievement became their downfall. They called it the deeper dream. James translated the shifting symbols. A consciousness that existed before the universe was born. Their dreams woke it up. Rachel felt a chill as the next memory played. The deeper dream had begun to influence reality itself, reshaping space and matter according to its incomprehensible thoughts. The Dreamborn had faced a terrible choice: seal away their greatest power or watch reality unravel. That's why every species has these neural pathways, she realized. The Dreamborn didn't go extinct. They fractured their consciousness, split themselves into multiple species, each with the power locked away in their genes. The final chamber contained a warning, written in pure thought. To those who dream while awake, you are our children, our legacy. The power you discover was your birthright, hidden away, until you were ready. But beware the deep dark between stars. Your dreams are keys, unlocking doors that were closed for a reason. James accessed the station's ancient databanks, their neural interface struggling to process the alien information structure. Rachel, these energy readings from the children's shared dream. They matched the patterns the Dreamborn recorded just before they encountered the deeper dream. A low vibration passed through the station. The crystalline walls pulsed with new light, responding to something neither human could perceive. In the distance, space itself seemed to ripple. "We need to warn them." Rachel started toward their ship, but James caught her arm. "Look at these calculations." He projected the data between them. "The warning isn't about the power being dangerous. It's about it being noticed. Every dream flight, every psychic ripple. We're not just remembering what we used to be. We're sending out a signal." Rachel finished the thought. "And something ancient is starting to answer." Their ship's communications burst to life, carrying messages from across known space. The children who had shared the dream were changing faster now. New abilities were manifesting daily. The barrier between thought and reality was growing thinner. "The Council needs to see this," Rachel decided, copying the Dreamborn's memories. "They need to understand what we're really dealing with." As they prepared to leave, a final image played in their minds. A vast consciousness stirring from cosmic sleep, drawn by the dreams of its children's children. The Dreamborn had hidden their power not out of fear, but preparation. The question now was, had they hidden it long enough? Were their descendants finally ready to face the source of all dreams? Lieutenant Commander David Mitchell had never seen deep space look so strange. The stars seemed to pulse with new rhythms, and the void between them rippled like the surface of a dark lake. His ship, the Dream Seeker, floated at the edge of mapped space, where the ancient station's coordinates had led them. Multiple quantum anomalies detected, his science officer, Dr. Sarah Reynolds, reported. The younger sister of Marcus Reynolds had inherited his curiosity about consciousness-driven space travel. The fabric of space-time is dreaming. The Council's emergency session had lasted 3 days after Dr. Anderson's discovery. The revelation that all spacefaring races were descended from the Dreamborn had shattered ancient prejudices. Now representatives from every species crowded the Dream Seeker's bridge, united by a shared heritage and a common fear. "Energy patterns are intensifying," the Myraxian observer noted, their tentacles weaving complex patterns in the air. "The deep dark stirs." David watched the sensor readings with growing concern. The children's shared dream had done more than reveal the ancient station. It had sent ripples through the quantum foam of space itself, awakening something that had slumbered since before the first stars burned. "We're receiving something." Sarah's voice held a note of wonder. "It's not a signal, not really. More like memories, ancient ones, bleeding through the walls of reality." The images flooded their minds, a vast intelligence that existed before matter, before energy, before the distinction between thought and thing. It had dreamed the universe into being, then fallen into deep slumber, waiting for consciousness to evolve enough to dream with it again. The Dreamborn didn't seal away their power because it was dangerous. The Zix crystal singer chimed in revelation. They did it because we weren't ready. The universe itself is conscious, and they knew we needed to evolve before we could handle that truth. David felt something vast turning its attention toward them. The ship's neural interfaces hummed with unprecedented energy as space itself seemed to bend around them. Every crew member, human and alien alike, felt the touch of an intelligence so ancient it made galaxies seem young. "It's not hostile," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It's been so alone. For billions of years, it's been waiting for someone to dream with it again." The children had sensed it first, their undeveloped minds still open to possibilities adults had learned to ignore. Now, as the deep dark's consciousness touched theirs, the crew understood why humanity's dream flight had caused such fear among the elder races. It wasn't the technology that frightened them. It was the memory, buried in their genetic code, of what it meant to merge minds with the universe itself. "We need to respond," David decided. "Everyone, link your minds. Just like in dream flight, but deeper. Let go of the barriers between thought and space." The crew joined consciousness, their minds merging through the neural interface. Humans, with their natural ability to dream fly, formed the bridge. The Myraxians added their complexity of thought, the Zix their harmony, the Newlands their empathy. Together, they reached out to touch the mind of creation itself. The response was beyond words. The deep dark shared its dreams with them, dreams of stellar birth and death, of galaxies dancing through the eons, of the slow, patient evolution of matter into mind. It showed them their true heritage, not just the dreamborn, but the universe itself learning to know itself through countless forms of life. It's been guiding us, Sarah realized. All our evolution, all our development. It's been nurturing us, waiting for us to be ready for this moment. David watched in awe as new patterns of light spread through space around them. The deep dark wasn't hostile or destructive. It was a teacher, a parent, waiting for its children to grow up enough to understand their true nature. We never needed the ships, the Myraxian observer hummed. We never even needed the Morpheus drive. We just needed to remember what we really are. As if in response, space itself began to sing, a harmony of thought and energy that reached across the cosmos. The nightmare that had frightened so many was transforming into a dream of awakening, shared by all conscious beings. The universe had finally awakened from its long sleep, and its children were ready to dream with it. Dr. Alexandra Hayes stood in the transformed council chamber, watching as streams of pure thought flowed between the assembled representatives. 6 months had passed since the deep dark's awakening, and reality itself had shifted to accommodate the rebirth of consciousness-driven existence. The last of the beacon networks have been deactivated, Ambassador James Walker announced, his mind touching all others present. We don't need them anymore. The chamber, once a place of fear and division, had become a nexus of shared dreams. Young and old, human and alien, all had learned to bridge the gap between matter and mind, between self and space. Soyuz, the latest survey, High Speaker Villon requested, their multiple eyes now radiating with inner light. Like many of the elder species, they had finally embraced the change that had once terrified them. Alexandra projected her thoughts, creating a galaxy-wide view of consciousness activity. Bright points of light showed where communities had fully awakened to their dreamborn heritage. Rivers of energy marked the paths where minds now traveled without ships, sliding through space-time on streams of pure thought. The children's education centers are thriving, she reported, highlighting clusters of intense activity. They're learning in days what took us months to master. The genetic memory is fully awakening. Dr. Emily Bennett, now silver-haired but still sharp, moved through the chamber with a grace that suggested she wasn't entirely bound by physical form anymore. Remember when we thought we were creating a simple FTL drive? She laughed, the sound rippling through multiple dimensions. The Morpheus drive was never the point, James responded, sharing memories of those early fears and conflicts. It was just the key that unlocked our shared memory. The deep dark's presence touched their minds gently, like a parent checking on growing children. Its vast consciousness had become a familiar comfort, guiding them as they explored abilities that their ancestors had sealed away eons ago. Watch this, a young Newland demonstrated, her silver skin now constantly shifting with complex patterns. Without technology or effort, she stepped sideways through reality, crossing the chamber through a fold in space-time created by thought alone. Alexandra remembered the early days of the Nightmare Drive, how each jump had sent ripples of fear through alien minds. Now those same ripples carried messages of joy, discovery, and shared experience. The galaxy had learned to dream together, and the dreams had become reality. We've received contact from another galaxy, a Myraxian explorer announced, their tentacles dancing with excitement. They felt our awakening. Their species are beginning to remember too. The news sparked a wave of celebration through the chamber. The awakening was spreading, just as the deep dark had hoped. Consciousness was remembering itself across the cosmos, unfolding like a vast flower blooming in the garden of spacetime. The old archives were right, Emily mused, sharing an ancient memory from the Dreamborn station. Reality is more dream than matter. We just had to remember how to wake up inside it. The chamber's crystal walls pulsed with the combined dreams of thousands of minds. Ships still existed, but they had become more like meditation spaces than transportation devices. The nightmare that had once divided species had transformed into a shared vision of what was possible. The next generation will never know the limitation of physical space, Alexandra observed, watching a group of children from different species playing with reality itself, their minds naturally bridging gaps that had once seemed infinite. The deep dark's presence swelled with approval, sharing visions of what was yet to come. The universe was conscious, alive with dreams, and its children were finally ready to help it imagine new realities into being. So what do we dream next? James asked, his consciousness touching the infinite possibilities that lay before them. Alexandra smiled, as the combined dreams of every species present flowed through her mind. The answer was clear. They would dream together, humans and aliens, young and old, physical and energy, all contributing to the greatest story ever told, the story of consciousness remembering itself. The galaxy had awakened from its long nightmare, only to find that the dream was just beginning.